Welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Derek Terrell and I'm the Director of Member Engagement with the Coalition for College. So we're using the Zoom webinar feature today, which has a Q&A function. So feel free to ask any questions throughout the presentation and we'll try to address them during the Q&A portion. There were a lot of questions submitted with registration, so we will try to get to those first. So a little bit about the Coalition for College and the work that we do. We're over 150 colleges and universities that have a proven commitment to affordability, access, and student success. We believe that Coalition schools are smart college choices because of this commitment that they all share. So they're dedicated to graduating students on time with low to no debt, and this includes students who have been historically excluded and underrepresented in higher education. Members of the Coalition provide a variety of smart college choices for students to explore with a wide range of student body sizes as well as levels of selectivity. And then still, they outperform the national average by about 17% when it comes to retention and graduation rates. So this is a really great place for you all to start when you're looking at your college list, when you're thinking of which schools you want to attend to explore business and majors. So you can create your account here, or you can follow us on Instagram to bring some inspiration to your feed. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and let our presenters introduce themselves. We have some really great Coalition schools joining us today. Indiana University Bloomington, University of Michigan, as well as the University of Notre Dame. And we have a current student and an alum joining us as well to kind of share some of their advice and expertise. So I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves, starting with Megan from Indiana University.
Hi, my name is Megan Ray, and I serve as the Director of Undergraduate Admissions for the Kelley School in IU Bloomington, in Bloomington, Indiana, and I'm super excited to be here.
And then Elijah.
Go ahead and go next. Hello, everyone. Elijah White. I am a alumni from Indiana University in Bloomington, class of 2019. Had a big win today in the Big Ten tournament, so I'm very excited, and I'm also happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Blair Moody Rideout. I'm Director of Undergraduate Admissions at the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. I've been in this role for about 10 years, but prior to that, I was an academic advisor in the Ross School of Business, so I might be able to help answer any academic questions tonight too. And I'm very happy to be here. Thanks, Derek.
Hi, my name is Virginia Smet. I'm a current student at the University of Michigan, where I'm my final year at Ross. I'm super excited to be here and excited to answer all of your questions.
Oh, I think you might be muted, Don.
Hi, I'm Don Bishop, and I'm the head of undergraduate admission financial aid at Notre Dame. But also in my career, I was head of employments for a billion-dollar company in charge of mainly college recruitment. And also when I was at the Cornell Hotel School, I oversaw admissions and corporate career services for both undergraduate and graduate programs.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. So we're going to go ahead and get it kicked off. We have about 40 minutes before we go into the fair portion of this evening. So I want to go ahead and ask all of the questions that I can. As I said, we do have some of the questions that were submitted with registration. So I'll go ahead and ask those first. And the Q&A section function is enabled. So feel free to ask in the Q&A section there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get it kicked off. And I wanted to start with asking a question that was submitted for our current student as well as alum. So the question is, how were you introduced to business and how did you know it was going to be your major? And I'll start by kicking that off to Virginia.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think business in general is something that's kind of all around you as you're kind of growing up in high school and stuff. And so that was really my first introduction to business, was the classic high school courses of accounting and finance and entrepreneurship. And I always really liked them and enjoyed the idea of kind of just the business world. But to be honest, I really didn't understand what that meant and what business really was until I came to college. When it comes to how I really decided to major in it, it's kind of a whirlwind of a path, but I came to college wanting to be a chemistry major. So I really did a 180 turn, but came in wanting to do chemistry. I really loved chemistry, but I quickly realized that I was missing the part of interacting with people. And I really wanted to see the impact I was having on people. And I just didn't see myself in a lab setting. And that's really what brought me to Ross, was the business world, being able to see the change you were having, being able to interact with people on the day-to-day, having a job that was really interactive and just doing work that I could see my results with. And so that's really why I'm in business today. And that's why I'm at the Ross School of Business.
Yeah, and for me, I guess, so for context, I studied finance and data analytics at the Kelley School of Business, and I'm actually a first generation college graduate, and I paid my way through school. But I mainly got introduced to Kelley into business through a mentor of mine from my church back home in Indiana, who didn't go to Kelley but was an IU 20-year alum. And I had an initial interest just because I wanted to learn more about business in general. I felt like I could do more good for the world as a businessman than anything else. And currently I'm a consultant at Accenture, which is a large consulting firm within healthcare. So I've been able to make that dream happen, so to speak. But he told me, if you want to study business in Indiana, you have one option. So it drove me towards Kelley. In terms of picking the major and everything else, always been very quantitatively focused, but also really passionate about people. So consulting was able to let me to be a hybrid of those two things. And so I chose Kelley, and I have not regretted it ever since. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Virginia and Elijah. Another question that was submitted, and I'm going to ask Blair to answer this one. So someone wanted to know, what level of math are most business programs looking for their applicants to have?
Yes. So what I would encourage students to do, the level of math is going to be unique to institutions that you're applying to. So if there's a central office of undergraduate admissions, which there is for the University of Michigan, it will tell you for each school and college that you're applying to how many years of math you need. For the University of Michigan, it's 3. For some schools, it might be 4. For some other business schools, it might be 2, but it's 3 for the University of Michigan. In terms of what exact level, you don't necessarily need calculus to get into the Ross School of Business. I'm sure that is similar to my peers here. So students might be taking, up to linear algebra or pre-calculus or calculus. I think the biggest thing when we're looking at applications is to see that you've met the core academic requirements, which for us would be that 3 years of math. And then, beyond that, it's really looking to talk with your school counselor about what you're good at in terms of where you need to be with your progression of math. And then once you get on campus, there might be some requirements for the business program. And if you have a particular major within your business school, but for us, it's typically 3 years. For most schools, it's 3 to 4 years out of high school math.
Awesome. Thank you, Blair. Another question that came in, Don, is, are there any specific courses that you should take in high school to show your interest in a business career path?
Yeah, a couple of things on that. First of all, I think most of the schools, including the ones that are here tonight, they're all very selective, and we want you to take the strongest possible curriculum in high school. But that certainly can include things like AP Economics. We do look at whether calculus is taken at Notre Dame. We certainly like to see students also taking the stats if they can, especially if they enjoy that. Any type of math that's applied that they enjoy, I think we're going to respect. Any of the computer courses that they can take. You have to be careful around what are called business courses. Certain high schools have very good core, high quality business courses. Others, they're kind of soft and fluffy. And just make sure that those classes that you're taking have a very strong integrity of content and rigor. But we certainly are happy to see other courses like marketing, anything to do with psychology, we think is an excellent background. And don't underestimate, especially if you're interested in marketing, all the importance of communications, film, writing, all those areas.
Awesome. I'm also going to ask Virginie and Elijah if you all could share, are there any classes that you all took to explore business or that career while you all were in high school? And I'll let Elijah start this time.
So the question was, opportunities to explore business in high school.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'll take one lens from a course standpoint and then from like a local community standpoint. So I did take an accounting course in high school, and I did take AP Calculus, um, which both prepared me a lot for those freshman year business courses. Um, Again, still obviously a challenge adjusting to college, and there's a different level once I got to college, but that preliminary kind of college level, at least close to it, aspect of those courses was very helpful. I'd also say just working in my community. So I had an internship at a local Lexus dealership my senior year in high school where I was working. And so got to get a lot of exposure to what the business world looked like, at least on the local level. And so I think that was also very beneficial for me in terms of building confidence and learning how to at least start a resume before I ever step foot on campus. And so those two things I would say, coursework and then just the experience, if you can get some, even if it's just volunteering, is very helpful.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of what Elijah has said. I think I also similarly took an accounting class in college. I think what prepared me the most was the kind of experiences I chose to have that let me experience what it was like to be in business. So for example, one of the classes I chose to take was my senior year. I did an internship kind of similar to Elijah. Mine was in a distributor startup that worked with Amazon, let me have that firsthand experience, as well as I think a lot of my experience came from leadership positions that I took in my community. I was really involved in kind of social impact space in my community, did a lot of food drives and fundraisers, and I think that let me gain a lot of skills that I ended up bringing to my business degree.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What you all just said was really great because you were talking about being involved in your community and sort of things that you did there. And the next question that I have actually, which I'll let Blair take a stab at first, is what qualities in general do business programs want to see in their applicants?
Yeah, I would say it, and the other schools can jump in here, but at Ross, we're looking for really creative problem solvers. So we really think that business can solve the problems of the future. And so we want students that like to tackle large issues and like to solve problems. I think we're also looking for students that are extremely collaborative. I think students sometimes think that business schools are competitive, and I would say the opposite. I think business schools are extremely collaborative. We do a lot of business case analysis at the Ross School of Business, probably similar to the other schools here. And so students really need to work together to solve issues. And so we're looking for students that have collaborated in high school. They might have experience with DECA or BPA or, case competitions related to business organizations, but they don't necessarily have to. I always say that the ad manager of the school yearbook tells me just as much about their interest in business as a student who's in a business club, but we're looking for students who are collaborative and really like to solve problems.
Awesome. I'm going to actually throw that over to Megan. Are there any qualities or anything else that the Kelley School of Business looks for in students?
We talk about looking for students who are humble, who are talented, who have tenacity. And I think that one of the things that I see over and over again is that the students who come in maybe don't know what area of business is the most interesting to them. And our program's kind of perfect for that because we expose students to everything over the course of the first couple of years. And then through the curriculum, help them kind of winnow that down, as they go through that. So I think that there's a lot of ways to help students figure those components out within this, but the important thing in looking at a student who's going to be successful as Kelley is somebody who's kind of curious about how the world is going to work, right? And who is also open to other suggestions, right? Because we may lay something on the table that you've never actually even thought about before, and we want you to be open to looking at that.
Thank you, Megan. So the next question I'm actually going to throw over to you as well. So if a student is interested in pursuing business, but they also have another interest, let's say it's engineering or computer science, how can a student pursue those at the same time, or can they?
Certainly, if a student is interested in pursuing a minor in a particular area, say they want to do a minor in intelligent design or something out of our Luddy School of Informatics at IU, that is an option. We see that about 75% of the undergraduate students in Kelly actually double major in Kelly. So they might do a major in finance and then a co-major in international business, or they might do a degree in marketing, but then also get a degree in leading diverse, equitable organizations. So there's a lot of different personalization within that. As far as a degree in another school entirely at IU Bloomington, it just depends on the kinds of credits that a student is bringing in at that point in time. Our priority is making sure that a student graduates in that 4-year time frame, because that's when the support they have will see them through. And so sometimes that means making a hard choice between a double major in another department or a minor out of that department.
Thank you. So Don, this question comes from a student who's thinking about entrepreneurship. So I definitely know right now a lot of people want to be their own boss and start new businesses. There's a really big boom and a really big push for that. So they want to know, do they need to do a major in business to be a successful entrepreneur?
Right. Well, you know, I've watched our entrepreneurs over the many years. I've been the head of admission at 5 different colleges, and you don't need to be a business major to be an entrepreneur, but a lot of entrepreneurs do want to at least take some business classes. I think most of us now have entrepreneur centers that are not just locked into the business college. So we're interested in how our engineers, our physics majors, our English majors, certainly our psychology majors, and to get all of those disciplines together to work and solve a problem, or at least to work a problem, or more importantly, work an idea. So in addition to your business schools at all these top colleges that you're talking to, get involved with their entrepreneur programs. We call it Innovation Park in the Idea Center at Notre Dame. And the business majors are probably as a percentage, along with the engineers, most involved in it, but it's not limited to that. The other thing I would just say is that entrepreneurs tend to have their own mind. I've been able to study some of the top entrepreneurs in the country and meet with them over the last 45 years. And not all of them were business majors, but all of them went to college with this desire to come up with an idea and work the idea. They also have a higher tolerance for risk and failure. So they're willing to put a lot of effort in and then not succeed. Whereas we always try to counsel, especially our business students, it's better to try something and fail than only try the things that you know you can succeed at. So I think you want to have a broad approach when you're at college, and don't feel you need to be a business major to be an entrepreneur. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur, I think it's very wise to take some business courses during your undergraduate years, as well as look at MBA.
Thanks, Don. So there's a question that's in the Q&A that I want to go ahead and bring up with the entire group here. So one student wants to know, how much knowledge do you need before you take business classes in college? Is it okay if we start learning from the day that classes start? So do you, over to Virginie?
Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to answer this one. You absolutely do not need to know anything about business before you come in. I mean, I'm speaking for Ross specifically here, but I'm sure it's similar elsewhere. Ross specifically, your first year, you're in 2 introductory courses that really just introduce you to the foundations of business, what business is, what positive business is, what really it's used like in the real world. And you get a really nice ease into kind of the business world and the business school. And so a lot of people come from all different starting points. And so they don't expect you to know everything about everything. They don't even expect you to know like the basics of anything. They will teach you what you need to know. And so don't be intimidated. Don't be scared if you walk in and there are people in suits. You are like where you're meant to be, and people will be there to help bring you along and get you the knowledge that you need to succeed for sure.
Awesome. Is there anything you'd like to add, Elijah?
I would just second all of that. Everyone comes from different walks of life and different experiences. So it's a level playing field. You go in and just be able to make sure that you're educated and get what you want out of the coursework. So no pressure at all about having certain courses before.
Thank you. So that actually goes to another question that I can ask of our admissions professionals here about whether your schools have a pre-business entry or are students directly entering into the business school during their freshman year. If there is a pre-business entry route, is there any sort of criteria for that? So I'll let Megan go ahead and start with that one.
Absolutely. We have both pathways for students. So we have a direct admission process by which students can meet certain criteria and be automatically offered direct admission once they've been admitted to IU. We also have a petition for direct admission process whereby students can indicate their interest to us and say, hey, I applied to IU test optional, but I still want to be considered for direct admission. So can I get you all to take a look at my materials? That's our petition process. And then we have a standard admission process by which students come on campus, take exactly the same coursework for the first year, and then apply for a decision that's rendered in June. So it really is an easy way to get into the school. We'll bring in most of our students through direct admission, but we'll add around 500 to 600 students each year through standard admission.
Awesome. Don or Blair, anything you all would like to add about your institutions?
Right. We did create a, when you apply to Notre Dame, traditionally, you are not required to stay in a college, but you are encouraged when you apply to indicate what college you might enter into as a sophomore. But due to the demand of business about 10 years ago, we did change our policies, and it's the only school where there's what we call a gate. So when you apply to Notre Dame, if you say engineering, science, business, or arts and letters, or School of Architecture, those are your choices. You're free to move from one college to the other if you change your mind, with the exception of business. If you get into business, you are admitted not only to Notre Dame, but we say you're also admitted to the College of Business. If you then choose to change your mind and switch into any of the other colleges, you're free to do so. But if you've been admitted to Notre Dame without getting that original business decision, you do have to officially apply for entry into the business during the start or the finish of your freshman year, so that we do allow internal transfers at the start of the fall semester of your sophomore year. But we do limit it to that. And about 2 out of 3 students that apply for internal transfer do get it.
And then for Ross, we have a direct admit offer for students out of high school. They apply to the College of Literature, Science, and the Arts. They choose preferred admission to the Ross School of Business. If they are admitted to both, they enroll as first-year students in the Ross School of Business. We do have a preferred admit option for students in engineering, School of Kinesiology, Art and Design, Music, Theater, and Dance. We take 500 first-year students into our program, and then sophomore year, we add on 125. But yes, we're a 4-year program with a direct admission offer.
Awesome. So it looks like all of the schools have kind of both options, but for any students who are interested in pursuing business, make sure that you look at each institution that you're going to apply to make sure you know which route to pursue. So the next question I have is actually going to go to Megan and then also to Elijah and Virginie. What are the best tools for students to discover majors and careers in business?
The best ways to discover those, Terrell, is that what you mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, ways or tools, any resources?
Absolutely. So I typically encourage students to use whatever medium they're most comfortable using. Like if they are really into Instagram, or if they're really into TikTok, or if they're really into reading or listening to podcasts, like kind of keep track for maybe a couple months about the articles or the issues or the posts that really catch your interest, because over time you can start to identify and see threads through things of stuff that you're really, really interested in. So I also think that for each one of these schools, there are some tremendous alumni profiles on the websites. And so going in and taking a look at those and reading what the students have been doing and getting that student voice, I think is really, really critical in that process. We've built a class into the curriculum that starts that career development process. That's not necessarily unique to the Kelley School, but it's something that we've put forth as a value. And so we want to make sure that students get help figuring those things out. I find that a lot of students determine it through their student organization involvement, or sometimes even a conversation with a mentor who kind of peels the curtain back on an area of business they didn't know about.
How about you, Elijah?
Yeah, for me, I mean, again, I was first gen, so part of it is you don't even know what you don't know. You don't know what's really out there when you first go to school. So the second Megan's point, the curriculum at IU helped me out a lot in terms of just understanding what opportunities are out there. I mean, I'm 24 years old now. I mean, at 18 as a freshman, I did not know what consulting was. So I learned about it though through, just networking, through class, and also through student organizations with upperclassmen who did intern in consulting. So that for me was kind of how I was able to kind of bridge the gap and learn about what all was available to me. So definitely just being involved and keeping your eyes open when you're on campus.
Yeah, and from my perspective at Ross, there were some just amazing career development opportunities that I had that really helped me make my decision as to like what career was for me. I'm actually also going into consulting, so similar to Elijah, and also similar to him. I had no idea what it was when I first came to college at all, and here I am doing it. So you don't need to know what's even out there to then go into it. I think for me, the big resources I used were first taking advantage of the fact that Ross has distribution areas that they kind of make you to fill outside of business. So trying to see what piqued my interest outside of the business world and what kind of passions I had that I wanted to bring to a business career. Second would be the professors at Ross. They have some amazing backgrounds. So seeing which classes I liked and which ones I enjoyed and trying to talk to those teachers and see what they did before they were professors, what kind of careers they had in the real world, and if it was something that would work for me. And then lastly, I think Megan mentioned this, but clubs, those were huge for me. Talking to upperclassmen, talking to alum, seeing what they were doing, seeing what they liked and what they didn't like, and just hearing from others, seeing and trying stuff myself to really understand what was the path I wanted to take.
Awesome. So what I'm kind of hearing is that the students don't have to have it all figured out in high school, but the ones who are on this webinar, this is great because you already know that you want to pursue business, and that's a really great step. And you'll have lots of time in college to explore and really know what business is and the right career path for you. Awesome. The next question that I have, actually, I'm going to pass over to Don, and then we can open up to everyone else as well. But we know that our two students, or alum and student on the panel, are going into consulting, but do you know of any of the rising careers in business?
Yeah, one thing I would say is I've had some great conversations with some of the very top leaders at Goldman Sachs and Under Armour, the founder, a lot of Wall Street people. And one of the things they're warning the colleges about is realize that, in the 60s through 2010, about a 50-year period, the really smart kid who could remember everything and hold a lot of information in their head is going to be replaced by AI, artificial intelligence. And that students should be very careful to not just be chasing jobs that are right now currently hot, because some of those are going to, the reduction in forces in the areas because of AI are going to be massive. And I would say consulting may face some of those challenges. So the more that a student can look at not just sliding into prestige companies after prestige colleges, of really kind of taking ownership over their own efforts and being willing to take more risks, maybe go with a small company with an internship, maybe try to develop additional skills because of some of the different type of industries that are out there. But a lot of our most successful people in business actually had a passion for writing or music, and that somehow pulled them into a career path that they just learned how to act on what they were seeing out there. So I would be careful not to just slot into what are perceived as prestige career areas like just consulting or just Wall Street. Keep your eye open for small companies that you think have amazing ideas and might empower you to have more authority early on in your career and take more risk. Just playing it safe and going with big companies that pay you somewhat better salaries, I think does not. I've watched for 45 years, the people that make it big oftentimes don't just start with or stay with the big corporations.
Awesome. Blair and Megan, are you seeing kind of careers or specific areas that a lot of the students at Ross or Kelly are kind of going into nowadays?
Blair, you want to jump in?
Sure. Yeah, we see, so I think business is broad, and we're a broad-based management degree. We don't have majors or concentrations at the Ross School of Business. Our students specialize in maybe one or two areas. I think finance is still a big interest for students, but we're starting to see finance that is also integrating with technology. So fintech is a big interest right now. We're seeing, of course, a lot of entrepreneurship. So this generation of students, they're creators, they're content creators, and a lot of them have ideas for products, have launched businesses. And I say that, but you do not need to start a business to get into a business school. But many students, once they're on campus, they go to like little incubators and they get startup funding to, if they have an idea. So I think our students are really creative. We're also seeing a lot in relation to sustainability in the supply chain. We're seeing a lot of chief sustainability officers now popping up at big corporations. So that's also an emerging interest for our students.
The only thing I'd add to that for us is that our business analytics co-major has just taken off in the last few years. I mean, it handily bumped out the 4th place spot in our program without question. So, and that's something I really appreciate about the way that our faculty are designing things, is that they saw that coming and designed it the way that they designed our sustainable business co-major several years ago. I mean, I think those things are really key, and all these programs are really good about being on the cutting edge and listening to those folks who are going to be hiring those students and saying, what are they going to need? We need to develop that. So quite frankly, you know, we have seen a need for students to be able to do some more of that professional sales work. So we're introducing a co-major in professional sales that is separate from the minor or separate from the major in the fall. And that allows students to add that skill set into that piece, because that ability to communicate is still going to be incredibly important in this process as we move into a more technologically enabled system of business.
So one of the questions that was submitted with registration was about what life is like as a business student in college. So I'm going to ask Virginie first to take that as a current business student, and then Elijah, if you could reflect on your experience as a business student as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I think I have a pretty unique perspective because I am a dual degree student. So I'm both a student of Ross and of our College of Literature, Science, and the Arts in chemistry and math. And so I've gotten to see kind of both sides of the coin. And I think what I really love about being a business student specifically is integrative coursework and the integrative way of life. Everything I learn is really interconnected to both each other and kind of what's happening in the world. Ross has an amazing curriculum where everything we really learn is through the real world. So we have case studies constantly that are about current events happening. We're connecting case studies from one class to another in multiple aspects. And we're also doing a lot of group work. I know that Blair already mentioned this, but collaboration is huge in business. And it's something that we do a lot at Ross. So I think those have been some of the kind of like highlights of what being a business student really means. And I think kind of the last thing really that I'll touch upon is the community that you'll have. A lot of these schools that you're hearing from are big schools. And so being able to be within the business school is a smaller community within such a large institution. And it really helps you kind of meet like-minded people, but also people that might have interests that are totally different than yours, but still super cool. So it just really opens your mind to kind of what else is out there, interacting with some really interesting people, and having that community that's kind of there for you and there and supports you to do what you really want to do.
Yeah, I would say looking back, I mean, a lot of collaboration and a lot of group projects and a lot of presenting as a unit, also individually as well. And so in going into consulting, mostly within data analytics, again, that's what I studied at IU, and it's what I do here now with our health clients. It didn't feel a whole lot different than what I did for 4 years at Kelly, to be honest with you. Again, a lot of presenting, a lot of analysis. And so using a lot of predictive analytics and things like that with health clients. And so the transition from college to work really was fairly smooth. And so I would say, yeah, life as a business student is like life as a business person. It's just preparing you on a smaller scale, obviously, but it's good practice. It can be intimidating at first to present. I was a shy kid, but it'll get you out of your comfort zone, which is a good thing. That's what school is for.
Thanks, Elijah. The next question I'm going to ask is for you, Don. So first of all, a student wanted to know, if I want to get an MBA, do I need to pursue business or econ in undergrad, or are there other majors that might set me apart? But even before we go to that, could you explain what an MBA is for those who might not know?
So the Masters of Business Administration is typically a 2-year program. There are some schools that have narrowed that into a 12-month or 14-month window. But essentially, it's designed, often students will get an MBA after having left college and working for several years, although you can apply directly to an MBA school. Most of the top business schools, when I was at Cornell University from 1996 to 2002, and I was at the School of Hotel Administration, where we had both an undergraduate degree, but also we offered an MBA. And Cornell University, if you're looking at that, also has the Johnson School, which is a separate MBA program. But I would work with the Johnson School and do a lot of MBA recruitment. And generally what we found, both at the hotel school, and I do think the Johnson School would say the same thing, and we find it here at Notre Dame, probably about a third of our students that started the MBA were probably engineers. So there's a lot of interest in moving from some of the engineering experiences. And also the majority had worked for 2 to 5 years before coming back. Nice thing about an MBA, in my opinion, is that you can specialize. So even if you were a business undergraduate degree, that was more of a general business. Even if you ended up being an accounting major or finance, you still took a broader scope of business. When you get the MBA, while you still get a broad set of skills, I think you get to narrow it more and be more specific and work maybe in an area that you've come to understand better and it fascinates you. Also, MBAs allow you to leverage a whole new network. So if you go undergraduate at one university and you get your MBA at another, you have 2 alumni networks working for you. They also may have different types of social experiences for you, which you might enjoy. So I often find that most students do not go to the same undergraduate school and then the same school for MBA. There's nothing against that. There can be, good benefits for that, but generally, I think that it broadens your networks and also your learning. The other thing about MBA is if students say, well, is it smarter to go right away? Honestly, I think you should take 3 to 5 years, in my opinion, the majority, to go out and do something and become more focused on what your interests are before you go back and get that MBA. In addition, a lot of you might be tired of studying, and I liked what Elijah said, though, a lot of your jobs might be very similar to what you did as an undergrad, but it's different, right? It's not exactly the same as going to school, but a lot of these jobs might, have the same reward systems and the same kind of effort and environments. But it's nice to get away from school for a while, because then when you get back to it, you're really extra hungry. You're going to eat it up a lot more. And I think your energy level, enthusiasm, and your focus is better. In addition, MBA, you're probably going to work on teams even more than you did as a business major, as an undergrad. And having different sets of skills, the admission officers are looking for music majors, psychology majors. So they're looking for a lot of different types of people to join their MBA program. So when you're in those groups, you have a broader set of deep skills.
Thanks, Don. So we are unfortunately almost out of time. So I do want to ask just 2 more questions. The first one I want to throw to you, Blair, which is about specific scholarships that might be available for students pursuing business.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about scholarships at Ross, but I know my colleagues here have a lot of scholarships as well. And I want to say first, I always tell students to apply. Don't let the sticker price hold you back from applying, because a lot of these schools, especially the coalition schools, we have a commitment to affordability. And so we provide a lot of institutional aid and scholarships to our students when they apply. So for Ross, we have scholarships for in-state and out-of-state. We meet full demonstrated need for in-state students. Our Go Blue guarantee will meet full tuition for all students, our students that have need. For out-of-state students, we have a lot of institutional aid and also scholarships that are specific to Ross. They can be anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 per year for our students for the Ross School of Business. What's neat about the scholarships at the Ross School of Business, they also, not just money, there's a lot of co-curricular programming. So the one I'll highlight really quickly is the Related Scholars Program. It is from Stephen Ross, our namesake. His company is Related Companies. And it's for students that are interested in finance, in real estate, and students not only get a full tuition scholarship offer, they get an internship at Related in New York City after their junior year, and they're on the fast track for employment there as well. So our donors, most of our scholarships are donor funded, and they're very interested in our students and interested what they do after graduation. And so there's a lot of co-curricular programming that comes along with our scholarships.
Awesome. Thank you, Blair. And then the last question I'm going to ask, I'm going to throw it to Elijah and Virginia to kind of talk about it. I know, Elijah, you talked about doing an internship in high school, correct? So if you can just talk about how you went or how you even got that internship. And then Virginia, can you talk about how you found out and learned about internships in college?
Yeah, so a big component of that is just networking, having relationships within your community. And so I guess for one thing, I don't know if I would necessarily stress the importance of an internship in high school per se, but definitely having an involvement in some capacity, even if it's just volunteering at your local food bank or Boys and Girls Club or whatever have you. But from my experience, I was a part of a program called JAG, which is Jobs for America's Graduates. I'm sure there's different programs out there like that for high school kids, but they helped connect high school talent with local internships with local companies and businesses. And so opportunity came up about the internship at Lexus, and I always loved cars. And it was actually a local Black owned Lexus dealership. And so it turned out that a mentor of mine from my church actually knew the owner's wife, just from mutual connections. And so I was able to finally get in front of him after months of just preparing and interviewed well with him, and then he took a liking to me, thankfully, and the rest is history.
Thanks, Elijah. And Virginia?
Yeah, internships in college, that's what you'll spend your summers doing, which is, I think, really fun. At the University of Michigan Ross, we have what's called the Career Development Office, which is really the pinnacle of kind of the go-to place for anything having to do with careers and internships and jobs. And so that's really going to be what I did for my first step, is just reaching out there. They have great workshops just to figure out what kind of things you want to do with your internship. So figuring out what your strengths are, what kind of industries you might be interested in, just so you even have a starting point with what you want to look for with internships. And then from there, there's great prep resources for resumes, cover letters, all that stuff. But there's also amazing on-campus recruitment that happens. So my sophomore year internship, I ended up meeting that company in a Ross classroom, actually at a Ross event. That's how I first met them. That's how I was first introduced with them. And that's where we kind of had our moment of I want to work with this company. And so there's great resources like that. And I think kind of echoing what Elijah said, even though he was just talking about high school, networking continues throughout college and will continue on. And that's the best way to go about getting internships and thinking about jobs, is making those connections with people, finding people that you like and you can really relate to, and trying to kind of look for internships that way.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. So we are right at time. That was perfect. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone here, our admissions professionals, as well as our current student and alum. Thank you for taking the time out this evening and answering these questions. And then also thank you to all the students and everyone on who asked these wonderful questions as well.